My name's Joe Klementovich. I'm co-curator of the latest exhibition upstairs at the Museum of the White Mountains. Um, Silent Shifts, I believe is the title. And if you haven't seen it, it's worth taking a walk through. And as part of that exhibition, Plymouth State has an ongoing speaker series, which we started in October. So we've had more or less monthly speakers come in, and we have one more after this, one more after this. So tonight's speaker, I get to introduce my friend Ben, and I've most recently spent time with Ben. I think it was in Crawford Notch, probably only a couple of weeks ago. Absolutely. During a snowstorm on Mount Willard, where I think for several minutes, I thought my eyelids were going to pre-shut based on the wind and snow. That it was that full on, I think it was the last snowstorm of the winter.
Absolutely.
So yeah. It's been fun to spend time with Ben. He wears a lot of hats in our community in the outdoor world, as well as activism and as well as in the public schools. He's been a great friend to push me in certain directions, and he's always looking to improve himself, and that's one of the biggest things that I appreciate about him is he's willing to get into uncomfortable conversations and push himself and make himself better and the folks around him better. So I'm not going to talk too much longer. I'll pass it over to Ben to introduce Matt.
Hey, Joe, thank you so much. That was an amazing introduction. Today's not going to be a really tough conversation. I'm really excited to talk about a topic I love. Some friends that I've got here to help me talk about it. My first guest is my good friend, Matt Skoby. Matt here is a lifelong Concord resident. He's kind of my boss. I mean, not really, but Matt's the head of the English department where I get to work, and I'm really proud to call him a friend. This is going to be a great conversation, and I'm really, really excited to get into it. But we're super, super, super privileged to be here today, and I can't help but acknowledge that. And because of that privilege, I just wanted to take a second and pause. I want to hold a moment of silence for those who are not so privileged. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now that aren't so great, but we get to be here and recreate, and I'm going to give this speech. But before I get into it, I'm just going to hold a little moment of silence. Thank you so much. All right. I also want to honor the land that we're standing on. This is in Dakina and Turtle Island, and I want to champion those who have stewarded it and those who continue to steward it for the future generations. Thank you, guys. I'm glad to be a part of that journey. My good friend Matt here is going to help me tell the story, and let's get let's get those slides right up there on the screen. This is my story, The Changing Faces of Winter, and it's titled Diverse Faces Confronting the Gap in Minority Representation. Now, here's my little table of contents and little order of events. If you can look in the top left-hand corner, you can follow along with kind of what we're saying and where we're going, and then kind of have a flow of where we're going to go for roughly 55 minutes together. All right. Now, because I'm a dork and a teacher of poetry.
I think this is the microphone.
Cool. I thought it'd be best to start the event with a poem and kind of set the tone that way. So give me a second, and here we go. I'm going to read this poem to you. It's called Love Poem. During the doomed interludes between hope, I try to remember children exist. In the bled event of the present tense, I remember these men were children. Should I worship tomorrow if tomorrow is the one who turns children into patriots? Maybe God's love is everything ends. Maybe time is our sentences. Maybe time is how he hates. Love me now. Tomorrow has no face. The children are on their way to kill us, and we must feed the children. This is one of the latest from Donna Smith's, and we'll see another one of these later on in the presentation. You can find his latest collection of poetry, Bluff, at a bookstore nearest you. And I just thought this would be a great way to start off. So here's a little bit about my story. I'm going to introduce myself. I'm going to then introduce and turn the table over to my friend Matt here. And thank you guys so very much for being here with us. So my name is Benjamin Bacote, and a little bit of background about me. That's a little selfie I took while snowboarding, and I've been snowboarding since I was 14. I moved here in like the 90s, I'm not going to say exactly, and my parents brought me to Sunapee, and we were so happy to have changed our 77 acres in North Carolina and hot summers for 4 seasons here in New Hampshire. 4 seasons of incredible weather, winter weather, and the Lake Sunapee right across the lake from us. One of my first early memories, one of my really early memories that I hold dear, I was on Lake Sunapee in the winter. Me and my little brother were playing Crack the Whip, maybe a familiar game you guys have played, and I cracked it really good. I sent him flying across the lake, the dark spot of the ice, the dangerous spot of the ice, and he went through. I remember going over to my brother as he was flailing in the ice, looking him in the eyes as he was swimming, breaking the ice and falling back in, telling him to just keep swimming, keep swimming, keep swimming. Finally, pulled him out of the water, stripped off his ice skates, stripped off my ice skates, stripped off his soggy clothes, and we sprinted home. We didn't even bother to get our clothes. My little brother went back to collect them. And then we stood together by the heater. We shivered. We got warm. My little brother is now like my big brother. He's quite a bit larger than me. He's a 20-year veteran in the US Army. He's doing pretty good. But that experience, that first experience, it shaped one of my loves for winter. And it was a little scary, but from since then, I've always had this affection for winter seasons. Now, as I've always been a part of winter, it led me from then snowboarding at Ragged, teaching snowboard lessons at 14. I was a young kid with this platinum afro, teaching adults how to snowboard. And it was a little bit odd to see, but I did it. And I continue to snowboard to this day, as you can see. One of the cool things about snowboarding and winter sports is that it's one of the things that you get to do with your family. And my buddy here, Matt, is a family man. So let me turn it over to Matt, let him introduce himself, talk a little bit about who he is.
Thank you, Ben. So thank you very much, Joe and Ben. When Ben asked me to join this about a month ago, I was like, yeah, sign me up. Anything in terms of outdoor recreation. I just love, diving in and talking about that stuff. So I grew up in New Hampshire, and I was on skis at, age 3, skiing at Gunstock. So winter recreational sports has always been a part of my life. It is one of my greatest passions, and I was very involved in athletics growing up. So in my, elder years here, I've gravitated to, pursuing outdoor recreation as a form of athletics and a form of competition. So those are some of my personal interests. I like to backcountry ski, and I hike, and I trail run, and I do everything I can in the mountains and spend as much time in the White Mountains as I can.
Well, Matt, like you were saying, you don't only just go out and recreate and go out and play and hike and work as a school teacher. You're a family man. Tell me about your last winter vacation with the family.
Sure. I have a lovely wife and 2 children, 7 and 9. And I've had them on skis since they were 2 years old, and they have, we have gravitated to, like, we can actually ski together now. So I'm not with the harness controlling them down the mountain. We're doing some really fun stuff together at this point. So we recently did a trip up to the Tuckerman Ravine up on Mount Washington, and my whole family and we skinned up together, and it was a really cool adventure. It was their third time going up. And my favorite part about the whole trip is when we come around that corner and Tuckerman Ravine is just sitting there in all its greatness, is watching their reaction to that. And it's really a cool, special moment as a father, seeing, my kids and my family have such a great time outdoors in the wintertime. So.
Yeah, Matt, I mean, I gotta say, like, second that experience. There's no cooler experience than sharing a chairlift with your family and going down the lift together. And after my kids have been old enough and have learned to be confident enough to ski, I mean, it's just one of the best activities that you can do together as a family. I just love it. Speaking of skiing, we both love skiing. We both love being outdoors. Well, skiing, like New Hampshire, is a particularly overwhelmingly white sport. I think the surveys say 89% of skiers identify as being white. So just like the state of New Hampshire, we've got a majority of the population are not people of color, right? But if we look in a little bit closer at New Hampshire's population, we've got 10% who are BIPOC. This are people who identify as Black, Indigenous, or people of color. That's another 5%, just under, that identifies as Hispanic. But these people are spread all across the state. New Hampshire, these statistics are given to me by the New Hampshire Center for Justice and Equity, as you guys can see. You can double check, but also these people are spread out all across New Hampshire. They're not just in one pocket. So if you look at the diversity index, the likelihood that people randomly selected across New Hampshire has grown recently. It's gone from 15 to 24%. I'm not a math teacher, but that sounds like basically 1 in 4. As you look across the state, are going to be people of color. Additionally, children are at the vanguard of this growing diversity. As you can see, children under 18 are more diverse than their populations of the older generations, right? So one of the conclusions that they offer is that having a state that's welcoming and supportive to all people of all backgrounds is one thing that will help New Hampshire stay productive and competitive, and will help preserve these lovely places that we love to recreate in, the places me and Matt have been talking about skiing and taking our families. Now, Matt, we have seen some of the, potential ways in which the industry, ski industry particularly, can do more ways to be more inclusive. We believe that there is more opportunities here in front of us as a state to reach out to help protect these places, to help bring more and more people in to recreate in these places, and to do the things that are really important to preserve these places for future generations. Now, Merriam-Webster has this definition of tokenization, and in my experience, I've been really lucky to be able to recreate and work and live in this space. And I'll give you a short example. 19 years I got to work at a ski academy, and there we had students from all stripes and all backgrounds. They're majority wealthy, affluent students. But one year we had a student, and I'll just say DH, we'll call him. And DH was a great student, but he was from the inner city, and he was a person of color. He skied like he was from the inner city. He didn't take corners well. But we loved having DH, and we took him everywhere, to all the FIS races, which is the highest level you can ski as a high schooler. DH didn't score very well points. I don't think DH is skiing today competitively. He might be recreating. One of the problems with that situation was we loved having him there, like DH didn't have any supports. He was all on alone in a sport that made it maybe even more lonely for him to be there. This is one of the negative sides, and what's what I mean by tokenization. Matt, let me talk a little bit about your experience. Maybe you can tell us a little different side of the story. What am I looking at here?
So that's a picture of my friend and colleague, Tim, and I participating in an event called Last Year Standing. And it's that kind of ultra backyard format where you have to do a ski lap, which is skin up a mountain, 1,100 vertical feet, and ski down within the hour. And then you have to do that every hour until you can't do it anymore. So sounds like fun, right? And
Sweet.
and don't ask me why, but I find this to be incredibly rewarding. And it's something I've done 4 times.
All right.
And
Wait 1 second, pause. When you do this event, like who wins? Like what's the what's the longest they go?
so this event usually lasts days, and this
Days.
year the winner did 71 hours of skiing. So correct.
Okay.
So that's no sleep. That's that's eating on the go and just nonstop up and down the mountain 71 times.
Wow.
You multiply that by 1,100 feet per lap. That's a lot of
Wow.
vertical gain.
Yeah.
So there's some incredible athletes that participate in this event. Personally, I had a goal of doing 24. I accomplished that goal. But I was able to go home and get rest and recover and wake up, watch the Super Bowl, and there's still people still skiing.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it's pretty remarkable what
That
some of
is
these athletes
great.
can do.
It's incredible. Tell me a little bit about, as I can see, there's you and Tim, right? But who else are at these events?
Yeah, well, like you said, it's really hard to ignore. I mean, the the demographics, the type of people who recreate outside in the wintertime, particularly at ski resorts, and then events like these. This past year, there was 82% were white male,
Okay.
and not a lot of women and not a lot of people of color. So
Gotcha.
that's been pretty consistent from what I've seen through participating in all these events and all my experiences in the outdoors.
Would you
wintertime.
say that's kind of like traditional for like what you would expect in winter outdoors?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Well, not that that's a bad thing, right? Because it's really hard to get to that level of fitness that you are. It's really hard to get to that level of, even interest, right? How do you find out of such a thing, right? Anyway, let's talk about some of the successes and some of the intentionality that we've been a part of. And let's talk about this road program that we're gonna see.
Sure. So I am a high school educator, and I am very passionate about working with kids, and it fulfills me in a great way. So I try to blend, what I do for work and also what I do for my personal interests. And one of the ways I've been able to do that is to participate in a class called Rope at Concord High School. And this is hands down one of the coolest courses offered at a high school anywhere. It's an outdoor education class. Kids receive a full credit for this, and they spend their time in the classroom preparing for outdoor trips. And the students are responsible to do 4 outdoor trips per semester. One of those includes winter backpacking, overnight, rock climbing, biking, kayaking. So it's a really, really cool experience that kids get to partake in. That goes beyond, the traditional classroom. ROPE stands for Reaching Our Potential in Education. This class was created, we're in our 50th year of this class. It was created in 1975 by a teacher named Tom Herbert. So shout out to Mr. Herbert. This is a pretty cool, significant year for the class too.
Awesome. And before I hit play on this video, we're gonna check out a little video that I think a student made. Can you just give us a little bit background about how this video is made, the student, and maybe a little bit other of how we got to this student making this video?
Yeah, so this is a student who's a new American. She was in our ML population at Concord High School.
What does the ML stand?
So multi-language.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so This student was very quiet, very reserved, and I remember being a little apprehensive about this course. Like the thought of going out and sleeping in a tent in, single digit temps is a little intimidating when you've never done such a thing. But she put her trust in us as teachers and really connected with her classmates. And she had one of the best rope experiences I've ever witnessed. She came out of this really excited about being involved in outdoor recreation. And she wanted all her friends to know about this and her experience. So she put this really amazing video together. I take no credit for this, but she put this together and I'd love to share it.
Cool. Let's see. Mr. Skoby.
So one thing I really love about this class is, it's expensive to recreate outdoors in the winter. You need lots of gear and, the tents and sleeping bags. And there's a lot of barriers for students that might not have access to those things. And the thing I love about rope is we provide all of those things for students. So anyone can join rope. And that's really been a cool part of the class is to reach out to all of our diverse students at Concord High School and offer this opportunity for anyone who's interested. And I've just been lucky enough for 6 years to see some kids take a chance, do something they normally wouldn't do, join groups they normally wouldn't join, and really kind of take away some pretty cool things from the experiences. So.
Well, we get to build on that conversation about breaking the barriers with our next guest. We're going to talk a little bit with our next guest about intercession, but before we bring our guest up here, Matt, will you just tell us a little bit about what intercession is, how long it's been a part of Concord, what we did, and just give me a little bit of
Intercession it's a fun break in academics and learning. And this is relatively new for our culture at Concord High School. But essentially we do this every January where we take some time in between the end of semester 1 classes and the start of semester 2 classes, and we offer some fun activities for students to participate in. So teachers are kind of told, go create something fun and have students elect to do those fun things. So for me, naturally, when you're telling me to do something fun, I'm like, where can I go skiing? And so the past 3 years, I've put together a trip to our local mountain, Pat's Peak, and brought a couple buses of students out to the mountain. And Ben, you've been a part of this with me. So we've had a couple of great years with getting some kids who are really good at skiing and like to just go out and have some fun with their friends. And then some kids who have never set foot on skis or a snowboard before and experienced that for the first time. So intercession is one of my favorite times of the year.
Awesome. Well, without too much further ado, great. Let's come up video here and let's talk a little bit about who you are, how we met. Let's talk a little bit about intercession. So first, Jaden, will you just tell the audience who you are and where you're from?
Oh, we're
good. You're good.
My name is Drayden, and I go to Concord High School. And this intercession, it was a lot of fun.
Don't go too fast.
Oh, sorry.
What grade are you in, buddy?
I'm in 11th grade.
Sweet. How did we meet before I became your teacher?
We met.
Do you remember where?
Yeah, I don't remember where, but it was with something with Project Story, I think.
Cool.
Yeah.
And can you tell me a little bit about your experience in school? Do you love school, hate it, in between?
Definitely in between.
Okay. And sports, do you play sports?
Yeah, I play soccer.
Cool. Drayden, what about the outdoors? You like, I don't know, recreating, outside hiking, like, winter sports, anything like that?
Yeah, I love being outside a lot.
Sick.
Yeah.
No, all right, sweet. Anyway, we're gonna dig into intercession. And I want you to introduce this video that we're gonna watch. But before that, let's talk about the first intercession that you were a part of. What was the weather like? You remember that day?
The first time we went skiing during intercession, it was rainy and the snow wasn't very good. And that was the first time I was like on skis, like first time. So it was slippery, sloshy. I was sliding all over the place. So
Okay, all right on.
But it wasn't icy.
no, it was icy. It was icy.
It was like rainy and icy, okay. After you went skiing the first time, was there some things that helped make that experience possible? Like besides the school getting you a lift ticket, like what were the things that helped made it successful?
There was a lot of people that like went skiing before me, like way when they were like 3, whatever, and they like were very welcoming and they taught me how to ski.
Cool.
And they like taught me techniques and like even like I had my boots on wrong the whole time and then they taught me how to fix it. So
Cool. So you had like friends and like supportive friends that helped teach you some things. All right, awesome. Let's talk about the second time, right? Because you didn't just go once.
The second time, this time I didn't come alone. I brought some great people with me.
Nice.
And some of them it was their first time going.
Sure.
So they had like probably the same experience as me.
Cool.
But not as bad weather. And but since they like my first time I went, they taught me how to like ski. This time I could actually do it.
Okay. What made it better the second time? What were the elements that like made it better or worse?
That made it better. I'm not sure.
Okay. No worries. No. Lastly, thinking about skiing, would you do it again next year?
Yeah, 100%.
100%. What are the things that you need to like keep skiing?
Definitely like a welcoming community again. That was awesome that we had that.
Nice.
And maybe just like inviting more people in as well. Like I wish more kids could try it like every year.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that was really rewarding for me, I don't want to speak for Matt, but I think we shared it, was just like watching everyone's face and seeing like how much fun people are having all over the place. Drayden, I know you as Drayden, but there's this Draybay123. Can you just tell me a little bit about that character? Who is Draybay123?
Draybay123 is my my social media name.
Okay.
Social media knows me as Draybay123.
Like and subscribe.
You know.
All right. And tell me a little bit about this video before I hit play.
There's actually 2 videos of my skiing trip that I made, but this one here is about the second one.
Okay.
And it's just like it's like a shorter clip. So yeah.
Little teaser.
Yeah.
Well, Drayden, I just want to say thank you so much for your experience, and thank you so much for having a little chat with us right here.
Of course, thank
Really
you,
appreciate it.
thank you,
Well,
thank you.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
now, the efforts that we have been talking about to support and include our youth and make sure they have access, make sure those barriers for them to enjoy those natural outdoor spaces, they're not just the same barriers for the youth. There's a lot of adult communities that experience these same barriers. And some of the ways that we can intentionally and overcome those barriers is with intentional acts. Intentional acts like affinity groups. These groups signal agency and belonging. Whether you are BIPOC, whether you're queer, femme, or differently able, there are affinity groups out there in the winter outdoor space that are looking for your inclusion. They're looking for you to be a part of this winter space and find your safe place to recreate, to feel at home in this natural world, without having to feel like you have to assimilate and be something other than who you naturally are. It's super important for people to have this. I took this shot candidly the other day when I was at Mount Washington Valley as part of Ice Fest. And going there as a person of color, I was included with this BIPOC group. And what made it feel safe, feel inclusive, was that we were all there guided by groups that looked like us. Now, it's really important that the adult community have those skills to support the youth that are coming up. Because like we said, our youth are 1 in 4 members of different than the traditional crowd that we might see in these outdoor spaces. And those youth do deserve representation of people that look like them, that have the values like them, and have shared experiences like them. One of the things of the joys of being out there in this space was that we were able to do some ice climbing together. We were able to recreate safely in Mount Washington and hopefully make inspiration for other people. But we're here in New Hampshire, and I wouldn't be here to talk about New Hampshire winter outdoor spaces if I didn't mention this name, Keegan Supple. That's a name you guys all should know and remember. He's gonna be on the Olympics. He's gonna be on TV, Hi Supple family. And this is a person that I'm super proud to have known and had a friendship with. I'm going to show you a little clip that shows some of the excellence. Can you just click on that National Brotherhood of Skiers link? Because looking there, not only did we create an affinity group that made it feel safe for me, the National Brotherhood of Skiers
before we go
created a
tonight
link
is a good one.
for Keegan.
The National Brotherhood of Skiers. This group has been working for decades to expand access to winter sports and is even helping to boost some young Olympic hopefuls. Our friend Steve Patterson has this awesome story for us.
Watching a troop of talented young skiers shred up the slopes of Vail is a thing of beauty. Realizing they're all black is a vision.
It's super fun.
But this is still a rare sight. This past ski season, the National Ski Areas Association says that 89% of visitors to U.S. ski areas identify as white. A problem Ben Finley and Art Clay set out to solve half a century ago, starting the National Brotherhood of Skiers to advocate for greater representation in winter sports and dispel the idea that black people don't ski.
We are skiers who happen to be black. People sometimes get us confused. Well, you're just black people who happen to ski. No, we are skiers who happen to be black.
Every year, they bring thousands of black skiers together.
What we tried to do was make it all a party. You know, just, hey, while we out here partying, why don't you try some of these skis? And it worked. It's a brotherhood, sisterhood, it's all good.
Groups from Denver to Detroit.
It's just wonderful. We love it.
Even as far away as London.
We ski high.
Their goals are growing. They hope to see black athletes on Olympic podiums. 20-year-old freestyle skier Keegan Supple is the dream.
What's it like to just fly through the air like that? It looks crazy.
I mean, it's one of the best things ever. It's the most freedom you'll ever feel.
He's one of several NBS-sponsored athletes with U.S. team ambitions and talent.
I didn't really have any role models growing up.
Now he's surrounded by them. Proof that finding serenity on the slopes has never been skin deep.
I told you it was an awesome story. We will all be keeping an eye out for Keegan and his fellow skiers at the 2026 Milan Winter Games.
Awesome. Thank you so much. As you can see, Keegan's going nationally, right? And the National Brotherhood of Skiers is there to support him nationally. I got some clips of him just doing some local stuff, but we'll just check it out just to enjoy this amazing talent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's super cool. Here we go. One more. And lastly.
Oh.
So.
Hey.
Jaden, you got your work cut out for you, buddy. Now, as I'm getting to our close, right, it's really cool to celebrate Keegan and to celebrate the really awesome things that are happening. But here's a poem to bring us home called My Beautiful End of the World. The world is ending. We are allowing it, or some are trying to slow it, prevent it. But a greater sum would rather ignore it, profit from it, play the fool. The world is ending, and who knows it? Who has to know it? Who has the water already left rain hungry, thirsty? Whose aquifers have been sold to a richer someone's need? Who has the heat already sweated out of an illusion of normalcy? I'm running along the Mississippi again, this far north where the river is thin enough to swim across and too dirty to dive into. It's beautiful along the banks with the well-kept trails, the small forests climbing up the bluff. When I'm in the most naturally beautiful places in Minneapolis, I'm often alone. Not alone, but I'm by myself in the midst of white folks. I'm the only of my people along the trails. Sometimes a dark stranger will pass me and we get that moment of recognition in the company of trees. Occasionally, a friend is by my side and we are alone together along the crowded and worn paths. It's the end of the world, and who gets to escape into the fantasy of nature's endlessness? The mansions and apartments I can't afford a stone's throw from utopia while we build apocalypse. Who gets to live by paradise as the world closes into heat? I'm running along the Mississippi into beauty. I'm going to the river to ease my mind with color and flora, to be with the plants and bees while they still exist. The closer I get to Earth's beauty, the less the people enjoying it look like me. Who is allowed this green wonder? Who is expected to bake first in the stone knowledge of fact? You know, we know. In preparing for this event, I did some research and found this quote by this author, Skylar Mitchell. Skylar is also a recreator, person of color in this outdoor winter space, and has this quote that I think really kind of brings home what we are trying to advocate for here. Nature is always offered itself freely. And the appeal of the outdoors lies in its inherent accessibility, reinforcing our collective histories of human connection to the earth. All of us, no matter what background, what history you have, what color, religion, creed, whatever sexuality you have, we all have a relationship with nature and deserve to have that access. The more and more of us that care about it, the more and more of us can preserve it, the more and more of us will work to save it and ensure that it's there for future generations. So as we get to our exit, and you look at the top left, we're almost done. What can we do? Well, somebody told me politics is gonna do you, whether you do politics. So I figured it's really important for us to be informed. These are two New Hampshire organizations that are working to help preserve these outdoor spaces that we love to recreate in. No matter what stripe of the political field you are in, there is an advocacy group that's out there working to preserve these New Hampshire spaces, and we all should support those works. Also, in addition, we should work to support the groups and the local affinity networks around you. I was really fortunate to be out at Rumney one day when I was rock climbing, and I ran into this group of friends and we got to take this photo. The two in the center are some of the early founders of Brown Girls Climb, an affinity group, specifically to inspire brown girls to get outdoors, to get on the rocks, to find a safe place to recreate and feel at home. I was really fortunate to be invited to the Mount Washington Valley Ice Fest, and the International Mountain Climbing School has had this Ice Fest event for many, many years. But just recently, 4 years ago, they decided to include affinity groups alongside their normal public offering. They invited this person, Marty Fuller. Thanks, Marty. And due to her efforts in 4 years, she filled her clinics. So now there's a waiting list every year for people of color, for people who are differently abled, for people who identify as queer or gay or anything. There is an affinity group now in operation to help get you safely out there, to teach you mountain climbing skills or how to safely recreate in the winter spaces. This has been a really, really, really fun activity, and I'm wrapping it up. I promise to close here and open it up the floor for some Q&A. But I just wanted to put one little note. This is just for information and education. The views and things expressed here are mine and Matt's and Jaden's. They don't necessarily represent from the state, university, or Museum of the Mount Washington, the White Mountains, who are hosting us. I really thank you guys all for your time. Matt?
Yeah, I can't thank you enough for, again, inviting me. And I love being a teacher, and I love the outdoor recreation, specifically in winter. And so any way I can blend those two and offer some opportunities to the students that I see to also enjoy some of those outdoor activities, I'm gonna work and make those things happen. So it really excited me earlier when you asked Drayden if he was going to go again next year, and he had an enthusiastic yes. So if that's the kind of thing that I really love, because these are some opportunities that kids may have never had. They get that opportunity, and who knows, maybe he can be up there doing some of those crazy jumps that your friend was doing. So
absolutely. But thank you so much, Matt. Really, 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 really appreciate you helping to tell this story. I can't say thank you enough to Jaden and the audience for being here with us, to listen to us, and to be here on Zoom with us. And I just gotta say big shout out to Matt and here my guests, to Joe for inviting me, to Kayla for helping to facilitate, and for Jaden, I couldn't have done it without you, my friend. But anyway, we're going to turn this over to Joe and to the audience that may be on Zoom who have any questions, and to the audience here that's live that might have any questions.
Well, first, a big round of applause for you. Thank you. To make a great presentation.
Yeah.
Great to hear you guys.
Pleasure.
I think we're gonna open it up to questions. It's pretty informal, so if anyone has a question, I see a hand already.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, we often focus attention in the White Mountains in North, but there's a ski mountain in Manchester, and I'm wondering if we're seeing any more access for Black, Indigenous people of color down there, New Americans, MLL folks, and what those demographics might be looking like, because that's such an accessible place where sometimes it's harder to get up here. Do you have any idea about that?
I've admittedly never been to McIntyre despite living 10 miles north of theirs, but my home mountain is Pat's Peak. And what I can say is we are really lucky in our community where we have ski programs at the elementary level. So students are able to get out of school early once a week for 5 weeks and go out to Pat's Peak and go through the ski lesson program. So that's been a really cool way to kind of provide access to students throughout the community. But that's a great question about McIntyre, and I'm now interested in answering that.
Yeah, I don't have any direct personal experience with those mountains below the White Mountains area, below the Lakes regions, as I get to live and recreate here.
Is the program you guys have, is that specific just to that school district, or is it a bigger, like, regional?
So there's several school districts that take advantage of what Pat's Peak offers, but Concord School District specifically is, they offer the program. It's been wonderful. I mean, to have my kids, like, they don't listen to me as well as they listen to some other instructors. So it's been really cool to watch them progress through that.
And from personal experience, locally, I know that there's the mountains here have programs with the schools, and it's open to anybody, and so I think that's a really awesome thing that schools and communities can leverage, that connection between the schools and the natural recreation outlets here. Yeah. So Panther is my little love project. NH Panther is one of the other hats I wear when I'm not in the classroom or not being a dad, or sometimes also while being a dad. Panther stands for Plymouth Area Network to Help End Racism. It's an acronym that we came up with after 2020 when there was a uprising around racial justice. So my son was 14 and he said, "Dad, a bunch of my friends are gonna go protest in the Common. Will you come with us?" And I said, "Of course." And that's how NH Panther started. Down here in the Common as a protest movement in support of my 14-year-old son and his friends. So NH Panther has always been a youth-centric organization of community members who have various skills. We raise money to provide material support to youth of all types who might need a little extra support facing the adversities that are here in the world, particularly, the racist adversities. Thank you.
So a question for you, as a Black snowboarder myself, what's your biggest piece of motivation for me to continue snowboarding?
Oh my goodness, awesome question. So as a Black snowboarder, I was I feel you. It's kind of a lonely world out there as you're trying to progress, or as you get good and you want to get more recognition. There's a young Black snowboarder that is just making waves right now. His name is Zeb Powell, an incredible role model and aspirational person that I look up to. He's 20 years old, just won an X Games gold medal in an event that it seems like they made up just for him. I mean, the kid is so creative and so good. I think I saw that they're calling him the most creative person on a snowboard right now. And he's a person of color. And just another evidence of how when you surround talented people with a community that supports them, they can do incredible things. And especially when you give them the agency and the safe place to be successful. Deb Powell is one of my role models as a young snowboarder pushing the envelopes today. Check them out.
Can I add to that?
Please.
It's sort of adjacent to like finding motivation, but I think one of the things in the outdoor, I'm a freelance photographer, and one of the things that's hugely helpful is, and you mentioned it several times, is seeing someone that looks like you in a magazine, on a video. And if you might not be the world's best snowboarder or skier or rock climber, but maybe you're great with a camera. Maybe you're shooting video of your friends that might be a lot better snowboarder. I face that a lot. And it's great to be able to create those images to share on your channel or with your friends and kind of amplify what you're doing. And I think, you know, we all focus on the outdoor industry or the outdoor recreational space as an athlete, but there's this whole other vast array of jobs and things you can do that are connected to that world, that you may find yourself more passionate about than snowboarding or rock climbing or whatever. So I think that's, for me, I've found a really fun place to be, where I can still dip in and out of that outdoor world and do those things, but do it in a creative way. So just another avenue to look at.
Absolutely. Yeah. This guy's one of my heroes as far as being able to do something you love while also doing something you love. And if I could do it all over again, I would want to, actually, I have a great career. I don't want to change it, but being able to snowboard while doing something else that also makes the money, it would be a really cool experience too. Yeah.
Are you keeping track at all of how well children are doing at school, just seeing if it helps them?
Absolutely.
In their schoolwork, their self-confidence or whatever.
Absolutely. I mean, Drayden could probably speak better to that question, but Matt, since you have more longevity.
Well, I think if I understand your question, it is if they are doing something and building confidence within themselves, do they perform better in school? Is that the question?
Yes, basically. Great. Good question.
Yes. I would say that's absolutely true. I mean, unfortunately, there are kids in the high school that kind of wander around, and you can tell they don't have a group or they don't have a hobby. And I think one of the great things that I will brag about with our high school is we have something for everybody. And so if we can help get people into the right places and around the right people, then I do think that impacts their academics. Absolutely. So specifically with snowboarding or skiing, you know, if you know, we can take a break in the middle of the school year in our intersession and go out and have some fun on the mountain. I've noticed that definitely helps not only just the individual, but the community as a whole as well.
Thank you.
Adding to that, the culture is improved when we get to all have fun together, you know, whether I'm taking off my hat as a teacher and I get to have fun snowboarding with my students. It improves, you know, my mood in the classroom the next week because of the memories that I've made on the slopes or the fun times that we've had together outside of the class.
And it's something you can do till you're 80, 90, whatever. Like, you don't need organized sports. You can go out and ski by yourself. You can go out and mountain bike or whatever, where you don't need that kind of high school, college team sport to have, you know, enjoy that, whatever competitive edge. You know, you could go out and skin up a mountain and ski for 72 hours.
Question.
Please. Do you want to type it?
Can you talk about, like, have you done any sort of assessment of the road program? And can you talk a little bit about any kind of assessment you've done of the sort of long-term participation in the program or even just within that year? You probably need to repeat my question because folks can do it.
Right. So the question is, have we done any kind of like long-term assessment of the program in terms of its success and what students have maybe gotten out of the course? We have definitely had like many former rope students come back willingly and be what we call our rope leaders. And so they'll do an extended learning opportunity through our school, and they'll come back and like lead trips and do all these things all over again, just because they love the experience so much. I think that the fact that this course is in its 50th year, speaks pretty highly to the success and the different teachers who have been involved in teaching the course are very, very passionate about not just like teaching, but also like these different types of learning styles. And this is not a typical high school class. And there are many teachers who are like, camp outside with high school students 4 times a semester. No, thank you. Right. And so it takes a certain type of teacher to really want to be involved in something like this. But what I've seen kids come out, they do a final speech on their last day. And these are some of the most rewarding speeches I've heard in terms of kids talking about things that they were scared of, and they kind of worked together and overcame some of their anxiety or fears in terms of scaling a rock wall or sleeping in the woods. And you can just see like how much a student can actually grow in just a semester. And that's really, really cool. So in terms of like assessment, I know that's a buzzword for us educators. Most of mine have been anecdotal in terms of like seeing some of the cool experiences these kids get to have. And really the marketing for this course, we'll play a snazzy little video on the announcements at school, but really the marketing happens within the student body, and friends telling friends and siblings telling siblings. And that's been pretty cool just to watch it sustain itself. Go ahead.
So this is adding from Eddie's comment.
Okay.
So me being a Black individual myself, I've never touched skis. What would be some good advice for me, like my first time?
All right. Well,
Pizza. Pizza.
I
snowboard.
I snowboard, and I can help you snowboard any day. Skiing, that's this guy's department.
Yeah, well, again, Drayden, you can attest this. How many people do you think we brought this year that had never skied before?
It was a lot.
It was a lot. Yeah, we were on the beginner hill for quite a while. But that's where we start. You put your boots on, you click into your skis, and it's gonna feel weird, and you might fall backwards. But you just kind of like learn how to balance and lean forward a little bit. And really the key with skiing is like finding the edges, right? If you're just like surfing on the bottom of your skis, it's going to feel like you're out of control. But the more you can use your edges, kind of like ice skating, the more you can kind of feel yourself control what's actually happening. But we have a term called pizza and French fry. Do you know what that means? So pizza is when your skis are like this, and that kind of like slows your momentum down, right? French fry is, so if you're just starting out, pizza.
Make sure to remember.
There's also, I know this year, the nonprofit Outdoor Afro runs a lot of groups. They're Marty Fuller, and there's, I think, a couple other leaders that are in the Boston area, but they come up to the White Mountains a fair bit to get people out skiing. So you could look into that group for next winter. And then I think Arc'teryx, their Boston store, they did a program this year where it started first-time skiers to, I think, the Blue Hills down around Boston, but then they went to a bunch of different like local ski areas. So if you look at either one of those groups, you might be able to find something that like fits your schedule and that you can get to. Might try it out.
I think it's super cool that there is not only, those local efforts, but, national brands like Arc'teryx, like Essence Magazine, like the Brotherhood of Skiing. There are like national organizations as well as local groups that are here to help support communities of all stripes to get out and find a safe place and welcoming community in the outdoors. So it's really cool. Volunteers involved in supporting. Yes, we as teachers volunteer mostly, but we also, I do believe there are some members of the public that are volunteered, but with public schools, it's kind of weird. You have to like do the background check, you have to do the fingerprints and stuff like that for safety, which is important. So just go through those steps and definitely winter spaces are looking for experts to help guide and be there for our youth.